Reaction continuing to pour in. Decision 2024 as former President Donald Trump yesterday found guilty of falsifying business records in New York. But will this verdict really change anything in the 2024 presidential campaign?
KWWL's Daniel Pro joins us live in the studio tonight to take a closer look at that. Daniel.
It's difficult to know how or if that guilty verdict will impact voter decisions in November. Polling that came out just before the verdict found 67% of registered voters said a guilty verdict would not make any difference in their vote. Among independents, 11% said they would be less likely to support former President Trump if he is convicted. Recent polls put Biden slightly ahead of Trump if Trump is convicted of a felony. In January, a Des Moines Register poll, a majority of Iowa Republicans said a Trump conviction would not affect their support. Through all these legal issues, the Republican base has been in lockstep with Trump. KWWL political analyst and UNI political science professor Dr. Chris Larimer says there's a chance that this verdict could sway some uncommitted voters. However, he says many voters will look at this along party lines and this won't do anything to change their vote.
For people who pay attention to politics on a regular basis, they're filtering information through their political beliefs. And so we seem to be at a point right now where when these big events happen, we don't see sudden shifts toward one candidate or the other. What we see is people really just sort of digging in within their own political camps when any of these type of events happen.
Democrats are using the conviction to argue that Trump is not fit to serve again. Trump has used his legal issues to raise donations for his campaign. Since the conviction, the Trump campaign says they've brought in $34.8 million in donations. Larimer says both sides will use this as a mobilization tool.
When you have that much negativity, I think there is a potential for that, for a certain block of voters simply not to show up. And so, and both campaigns know that, right? So they're going to be focusing on their supporters, those reliable voters within each camp, to make sure that they show up at the polls in November.
Now, this conviction does not impact his ability to run for president. The Constitution has very few eligibility requirements, and it says nothing about being a convicted felon. The jury rendered its verdict on this case in Manhattan courtroom yesterday, but both former President Trump and President Biden say the political verdict will come from voters in November. Ron Elizabeth.
All right, Daniel, thanks for the update. By the way, the sentencing date for former President Donald Trump has been set for, get this, July 11th. That is only 4 days before the start of the Republican National Convention.
He could face up to 4 years in prison.